The upcoming episodes of The Young and the Restless spoilers, full episodes the 11th of September 2025. Promise a blend of tenderness, heartbreak, and explosive confrontations as the show pivots around the entwined journeys of Tessa Porter, Daniel Romolodi, Mariah Copeland, Nick Newman, Phyllis Summers, Kyle Abbott, and Claire Newman. Music, secrets, and confessions become the backdrop for stories that cut to the heart of Genoa City's most fragile relationships. The hour begins with a moment of pure artistry as Tessa stands before Daniel, her voice carrying the lyrics of a song that feels less like performance and more like a raw glimpse into her soul. Daniel, seated beside her, strums the guitar with deliberate care, each note complementing her voice until melody and harmony fuse into something transcendent. For a few minutes, time seems to stop, and the chaos of Genoa City fades into the background. When the final chord lingers in the air, the silence that follows is not emptiness but reverence, the kind that only comes after something profound. Tessa smiles at Daniel, her eyes reflecting the glow of the moment, and tells him softly that everything about the song is perfect, too perfect to be kept to themselves. She suggests that they should share it with someone else, play it for an audience who could understand its beauty. Daniel, however, pulls back, admitting that he is not ready for the world to hear it yet. The song is too personal, too raw, and while he cannot deny its brilliance, he feels it belongs only to them for now. He then turns to Tessa and, with a quiet sincerity that takes her by surprise, tells her that she is the one who made the song so beautiful, just as she herself is beautiful. The words strike Tessa with an unexpected force. Compliments have never been her weakness, but there is something in Daniel's tone, in his unguarded honesty, that pierces through the walls she has built around herself. She thanks him, her voice catching as she admits how wonderful it feels to hear someone say that aloud. For a fleeting second, there is something unspoken between them, a current of possibility that both of them sense, but neither dares to name. It is a moment destined to echo in their hearts long after the music fades. That fragile moment is interrupted by the arrival of Mariah Copeland, her eyes glistening with cares, her expression heavy with the weight of secrets and sorrow. The sight of her wife unsettles Tessa instantly. She rushes to Mariah's side, her voice filled with concern, asking if she is all right. Daniel, sensitive enough to recognize that this is a moment between the two women, quietly excuses himself, leaving them to their conversation. As the door closes behind him, the intimacy of the room shifts. Mariah, voice trembling, tells Tessa that she needs to go away for a while. The burden of her guilt, the shadows of her confession, and the pressure of her silence have become too much to bear. Her therapist has recommended a clinic in Boston, a place where she can step back, breathe, and perhaps find the clarity she has been searching for. The decision is not one she makes lightly, but she knows that if she stays, she risks dragging Tessa and Aria further into a darkness they do not deserve. For Tessa, the revelation is both heartbreaking and terrifying. She wants to be supportive, to encourage her wife to take whatever steps she needs to heal, but the idea of being left behind gnaws at her spirit. Her fear is not just of loneliness, but of the growing bond she feels with Daniel, a bond that becomes harder to ignore the more distance Mariah puts between them. The juxtaposition of Mariah's tears and Daniel's earlier words creates a storm inside her, leaving her torn between duty to her family and the temptation of a connection that feels safe, steady, and affirming. As Tessa struggles with her emotions, Genoa City's other dramas escalate. Nick Newman, never one to sit idly by when danger looms, confronts Phyllis Summers with a warning that carries the weight of both love and judgment. He knows too well that Kane Ashby's ambitions with artificial intelligence tread dangerously close to illegality. And he fears that Phyllis has already entangled herself in something that could destroy her. His words are sharp, his tone urgent, as he reminds her that aligning with Kane means gambling not just her reputation but her freedom. What he does not reveal is Victor Newman's own interest in Kane's technology, choosing instead to protect his father's image while putting pressure squarely on Phyllis to sever her ties. For Phyllis, the confrontation is infuriating. She listens, outwardly calm but inwardly seething, as Nick outlines the risks she faces. His refusal to acknowledge Victor's role feels like hypocrisy, and his insinuation that she is once again headed down a self-destructive path cuts deeply. Yet rather than admit fault, Phyllis deflects, channeling her anger toward Kane. The moment Nick leaves, she calls him, her voice laced with venom, berating him for involving her in his schemes as if she had not pursued the project herself with just as much eagerness. Phyllis convinces herself, as she so often does, that the blame lies elsewhere, that she is the victim of manipulation rather than the architect of her own choices. Kane now finds himself caught between Nick's suspicion and Phyllis's wrath, his project crumbling beneath the weight of alliances turned hostile. At the same time, Kyle Abbott faces his own reckoning as he sits across from Claire Newman, her eyes burning with fury and betrayal. Victor's subtle manipulations have driven her to demand answers about the secret deal, and Kyle, caught off guard, scrambles to explain himself. He insists that what he did, however questionable, was done out of love, that his actions were never meant to hurt her but to protect their future. Claire, however, sees only betrayal, her heart breaking as she realizes that the love she thought was pure may have been tainted by ulterior motives from the very beginning. The tension between them escalates, and the distance that has been growing now feels insurmountable. Their once promising relationship hangs by a thread, and fans are left to wonder if honesty can salvage it or if betrayal has already poisoned the well beyond repair. Across these interwoven stories, the heart of the young and the restless beats strong. Music becomes confession, love becomes temptation, loyalty becomes control, and secrets become weapons. Tessa and Daniel's shared song is not just music but a metaphor for the connection blossoming between them. A connection complicated by Mariah's fragile state and her impending absence. Nick's warning to Phyllis is not just about AI but about patterns of destruction that threaten to repeat themselves. Kyle's desperate attempt to explain himself to Claire underscores the devastating consequences of choices made in shadows. And through it all, the question lingers, can love survive when secrets weigh heavier than truth? As the week unfolds, fans can expect tears, confrontations, and choices that will ripple across Genoa City for months to come. Will Mariah's time away heal her marriage or give Tessa the space to fall into Daniel's arms? Will Phyllis heed Nick's warning or fall deeper into Kane's schemes? Will Claire forgive Kyle or will Victor's manipulations finally tear them apart for good? The answers remain uncertain, but one thing is clear. In a city where every song carries hidden meaning and every confession comes at a cost, no one leaves unscathed. The emotional core of Genoa City is about to erupt as secrets long buried find their way into the open, tearing apart relationships that once felt unshakable. For Mariah Copeland and Tessa Porter, what begins as a confrontation born of love turns into a moment that could redefine their entire marriage. Tessa, her patience fraying after months of half-truths and evasions, finally loses her composure. When Mariah tells her she needs to leave for Boston, following her therapist's recommendation of a clinic, Tessa lashes out in anger. Her words cut sharply as she declares that the location of Mariah's healing does not matter, because Mariah has already been distant for miles. It is not the physical absence that devastates her but the emotional chasm that has opened between them. She pleads for honesty, her voice trembling with fury and heartbreak, asking why her wife cannot trust her enough to share the truth of what really happened. Why can't you just tell me what you did? She demands, the pain of her question heavy with desperation. For Mariah, the moment is unbearable. She has run from the truth long enough, and now, cornered by Tessa's unwavering eyes, she cannot hold back any longer. With tears streaming down her face, she confesses the secret that has haunted her every waking moment. I tried to kill a man. The words hang in the air like a death knell. Tessa recoils, shocked to her core, unable to process what she has just heard. Relief comes quickly that Mariah did not succeed, but the confession itself is shattering. It is not only the act that horrifies her, but the fact that Mariah kept it hidden for so long, choosing silence over trust, secrecy over partnership. The foundation of their marriage trembles under the weight of the revelation, and Mariah insists that her actions were born of fear and desperation. that she never wanted to become that person, Tessa cannot shake the feeling that her wife has crossed a line that may never fully be undone. The decision to go to Boston now feels less like a retreat and more like an exile, leaving Tessa behind with a wound that may not heal and a heart increasingly vulnerable to the comfort of inadvertently Daniel Romolodi, whose steady presence looms ever larger as Mariah pulls away. While Mariah and Tessa's world teeters on collapse, another storm brews across town at Crimson Lights, where Claire Newman and Kyle Abbott's fragile romance reaches its breaking point. Claire, her anger sharpened by betrayal, confronts Kyle with the demand for answers she can no longer suppress. Victor Newman's hints about a secret deal have already planted doubt in her mind, and Kyle's evasions only fuel her fury. She cannot understand why the man she trusted most would lie to her, why he would insist on shielding her when all she ever wanted was honesty. "Why did you lie to me and then make excuses, saying it was to protect me?" she asks, her voice trembling with rage and hurt. Her eyes bore into him, demanding nothing less than the full truth. Finally, Kyle cracks under the pressure and admits to the deal in brutal detail. He explains that he signed an agreement with Victor Newman, pledging that if he ever broke Claire's heart, he would pay Victor $5 million and leave Genoa City forever. The admission lands like a blow. For Claire, the revelation is a betrayal beyond comprehension, proof that her relationship was tainted by her grandfather's manipulations and Kyle's willingness to bow to them. To her, the deal makes every moment of their love suspect, every kiss and promise clouded by the shadow of a contract. Kyle insists that the deal was meaningless to him, that he only agreed to it in the hope that Victor would stop interfering in their relationship, and that his heart was always in the right place. But for Claire, the damage is already done. She accuses him of keeping the truth not to protect her but to protect himself, pointing out that if the truth about the kiss with Audra Charles had come out, Kyle stood to lose millions. Kyle, his voice breaking, swears that the money means nothing to him, that he never cared about the payout, and that the only thing he ever wanted was her love. He pleads with her to believe that he is not hiding anything else, that she knows everything now. Yet Claire cannot shake the sense of betrayal. Her voice softens, but the ache in it is unmistakable as she admits that she does not know if they can ever repair the trust that has been broken. When Kyle reaches for her hand, hoping for the smallest gesture of forgiveness, she pulls away, the space between them growing wider than ever before. He tells her that he still hopes, with time, they can return to the way things were, back to the love they shared before his mistakes ruined everything. But Claire remains uncertain, caught between the memory of what they had and the pain of what he has done. These two storylines, unfolding in parallel, reveal the essence of The Young and the Restless at its most gripping. Mariah's confession threatens to destroy her marriage just as Claire's discovery threatens to destroy her romance, each woman forced to grapple with the shattering of trust they thought unbreakable. Tessa's fury and heartbreak mirror Claire's, both demanding honesty and struggling to reconcile the people they love with the secrets they have kept. Kyle's pleas echo Mariah's, both insisting that their hearts were always in the right place, that their actions were misguided, but not malicious. And yet, the damage lingers, leaving the future uncertain. Fans are left with questions that cut to the heart of these stories. Can Mariah and Tessa find a way back from the brink? Or will Daniel's presence in Tessa's life grow into something more as Mariah remains absent? Can Kyle convince Claire that his love outweighs his mistakes? Or will Victor's shadow forever poison their bond? In a city built on secrets, where trust is currency and love is constantly tested, the answers are never simple. But one thing is clear. As confessions pour out and lies unravel, Genoa City will never be the same again. As Genoa City braces for another week of chaos, the storm clouds gathering over its most powerful families are no longer just whispers of danger but thunderous warnings that threaten to tear lives apart. Mariah Copeland's shattering confession, Claire Newman's confrontation with Kyle Abbott, and the escalating battle between Nick Newman, Phyllis Summers, and Kane Ashby intertwine into a relentless tapestry of heartbreak, suspicion, and desperate attempts at control. Every storyline bleeds into the next, reminding fans that in this city, secrets are never truly buried and alliances can crumble in an instant. At the heart of the week's most emotional arc lies the confrontation between Mariah and Tessa. For too long, Mariah has hidden in silence, protecting her family by refusing to expose the darkest truth of her past. But when Tessa's patience finally erupts into anger, declaring that Boston is irrelevant because Mariah has already distanced herself by miles, the dam breaks. Mariah's voice trembles as she admits she tried to kill a man. The revelation stuns Tessa, her fury giving way to shock and disbelief. Relief comes in knowing the act was never completed, but the confession leaves scars nonetheless. Trust is shattered, love is tested, and Mariah's decision to leave for treatment in Boston is framed not as a retreat but as a desperate attempt at redemption. Yet the absence she leaves behind becomes fertile ground for temptation. As Daniel Romolodi's quiet admiration and heartfelt compliment to Tessa earlier tender moment when he told her she was beautiful. When their music seemed too perfect to keep hidden echoes louder than ever. Tessa, left to shoulder the weight of Mariah's absence, cannot ignore the pull towards someone who makes her feel seen and cherished in a way her fractured marriage no longer provides. Across town, another relationship collapses under the weight of truth. At Crimson Lights, Claire Newman confronts Kyle Abbott with the fury of someone betrayed not just by a lover, but by the very idea of trust. Victor Newman's manipulations have already poisoned their bond. But Kyle's admission that he signed a deal pledging $5 million and exile from Genoa City if he broke her heart is the final blow. Claire hears his words, but instead of reassurance, she feels the sting of betrayal sharpen. To her, every kiss, every promise, every declaration of love now feels tainted by the shadow of that contract. Kyle insists he only agreed to the deal to quiet Victor, that his heart was always with her. But Claire cannot reconcile the man she loves with the choices he made. She accuses him of hiding the truth to protect himself, of fearing the exposure of his kiss with Audra Charles more than the loss of her trust. Kyle swears the money means nothing, that he cares only for her. But when he reaches for her hand, she pulls away. Her voice softens with regret but hardens with resolve as she admits she does not know if their love can survive this. Kyle, devastated, vows to wait, to hope that time will heal what his mistakes have broken, but for now, their romance teeters on the edge of ruin. And while love and betrayal play out in the private corners of Genoa City, a battle of strategy and suspicion erupts in a place of unexpected calm, the observation deck overlooking the city itself. Nick Newman stands there, his eyes on the skyline, but his mind consumed with worrying. When Phyllis Summers arrives, responding to his urgent message, the confrontation that follows is as tense as any boardroom showdown. Nick cuts straight to the heart of the matter, demanding to know what Kane Ashby promised her. He frames his interrogation as protection, insisting he wants to keep her out of prison, but the steel in his voice betrays his desperation. Did Kane recruit you for your computer skills? He presses. Did he ask you to dig into AI, to learn everything you could about it? Tell me I'm wrong. Phyllis, bristling at his insinuation, pushes back, but Nick refuses to relent. He warns her that Kane's technology could destabilize entire corporations, giving him the power to swoop in and seize control. Phyllis scoffs, accusing Nick of watching too many science fiction movies, but her dismissive tone cannot mask her unease. Nick's next words cut deeper than she expects. Anyone convicted of such crimes and their accomplice will face a minimum of 10 years in prison. He looks at her with fierce intensity, declaring that he cannot and will not watch her go to jail. His voice is not just firm but fleeting, the concern of a man who still carries the scars of their shared past. Phyllis, shaken but defiant, promises she has committed no crime. Yet she admits she suspects Kane has already scrapped his original plan, that his focus may be shifting. She tries to minimize her role, but Nick presses her harder, telling her that no matter what Kane has told her, she needs to cut ties before it is too late. Phyllis relents only slightly, thanking him for saving her from herself, but her pride will not allow her to accept his judgment fully. Instead, she offers him a promise of cooperation, swearing she will share with him anything Kane reveals going forward. Nick accepts her words but leaves with a warning. He needs her help to save the city from Kane's ambition, and the stakes are too high for hesitation. The moment he disappears, however, Phyllis's true feelings erupt. Pulling out her phone, her voice dripping with fury, she calls Kane and unleashes her rage. "You bastard," she spits. "Why didn't you tell me what you were dragging me into?" Her anger is a mask for her fear. But it is also a reminder that Phyllis Summers remains as volatile and unpredictable as ever, capable of turning on anyone when the walls close in. Together, these arcs encapsulate the volatile essence of the young and the restless. Mariah's confession and retreat threaten to destroy her marriage and leave Tessa vulnerable to Daniel's growing affection. Claire and Kyle's love story hangs in tatters, their bond undone by secrets and the long shadow of Victor Newman's manipulations. Nick's unwavering loyalty to his father pushes him into the role of protector and interrogator, while Phyllis, caught between pride and fear, lashes out at Kane even as she remains ensnared in his schemes. And through it all, the stakes climb higher, not just for individuals, but for Genoa City itself. As Kane's AI project looms as a threat not only to corporations, but to the very fabric of trust in a town where deception is already currency. The questions left in the wake of these revelations are as piercing as they are unanswerable. Can Tessa forgive Mariah? Or will Daniel's presence grow into something more while Mariah is away? Can Kyle and Claire rebuild trust? Or has Victor's interference finally achieved the destruction he secretly sought? Can Phyllis extricate herself from Kane's grasp before it is too late? Or will Nick's warning prove prophetic as the AI project spirals out of control? And perhaps most haunting of all, how many more secrets remain buried, waiting to explode at the worst possible moment? In Genoa City, nothing stays hidden forever. And as the walls close in on every character, the city itself feels poised for an upheaval unlike any it has seen before.